Today we're going to take you on a tour of one of the most famous palaces and what some would say is the most incredible Islamic architecture that exists in Europe. We're going to show you around the gardens, the palaces, the courts. It is a truly unique experience with a truly epic view.
Welcome to the beautiful Nasrid palaces inside Alhambra here. Alhambra, I think, was established around 1200 AD, and that would be about a little over 800 years ago, which is fascinating, by the Moorish people. We are still in Spain, which is the fascinating part of it. And the wall textures and the wall designs are just so fascinating. It makes you just want to keep looking up and up and up. It's even that the lower shoulder to waist is like boring, so that you have to look up. It's very fascinating. Fascinating being in some of these rooms. I mean, they all seem to have some type of water feature. I imagine it was to cool off the rooms because it gets really hot here.
It's really, really lovely. We opted not to get the audio guide because I feel like sometimes it's limiting, and it's more beautiful to actually have your own experience and then find out more about it. So you can really be in the moment, which we definitely are. They keep having no touch signs everywhere, and it is clear why. I literally have an urge to touch everything because it's like one of the first times I've really seen a dimensional wall where the wall's not just straight, but like there's so many dimensions to it and so many textures to it and so many colors to it. What's really cool is there's Arabic inscription in the wall that stands out from the wall. So it's like the detail and layers are just phenomenal. Really, really crazy. The Alhambra is actually considered to be the most incredible Islamic style building, and I can see why. what I mean by that is in Europe, not necessarily in Islamic countries. It's phenomenal. Look at the ivy. It's so cool.
Is that ivy? Documentaries on Alhambra, so check those out. There's plenty on YouTube as well. But there's some secret passages in Alhambra, which is really fascinating. They've got some pits, hopefully we find some where they had prisoner pits. They just throw them in there and it'd be almost impossible to climb out. There's secret exits and entrances, so it's really fascinating. We're going into some of the underground area right now.
Lovely. The view is so vast. It does remind me of the Real Alcazar, of course, but it is situated so differently. And it's really an all-encompassing feeling of being able to view everything and yet still being apart from it and being in a space of peace. Really interesting to see the difference between the rooms in there. It's clearly there was some of the rooms that we went through that were for more public and that were less decorated, less ornate, less royal, but the absolute depth to the way that they built the buildings, where we weren't just dealing with like, okay, here's a straight wall, there's a straight wall, there's a straight wall, throw a carpet on it, like the kind of European style castles that we might see, or even the, you know, beautiful paintings on one-dimensional kind of surfaces, right? Or two-dimensional, I guess. The gardens here are in a similar style as the building. There's not just one straight line or one dimension. Everywhere you look, there are different shapes, different textures, different layers to the gardens. They're called Generalife, I think is the term, and it's meant to mean, translated, it means Garden of Paradise, which I'm not gonna say it's not. I'm so happy today was supposed to be rainy and it's actually sunny. You remember when we went to the Alcazar in Sevilla, the rain actually, it was a good experience, but it's nice to experience it in the sun as well. So it's technically a citadel up here. It used to be a confined city, but there's 6 palaces. So it is a bit confusing. Look at the line. Oh, that's why we get here early.
Okay, this was the traditional drive-through line. So he's in line to get a cheeseburger, and he said, "You cut in line. Why'd you cut in line?" And this guy says, "I went to Burger King." And then this one says, "I already ate my Big Mac." Oh, and that guy got ran over. And these two, they both drank a Red Bull, and looks like they're making music.
1492, the Christian rule took over this area from the Islamic rule. And Ferdinand and Isabella actually commissioned Christopher Columbus from this place. Crazy. The most crazy piece of the history is that it then fell into disrepair. For so long, nobody really used it, nobody wanted to be here, whatever it was, and squatters actually took over the rule of this area, which is, I mean, if you're gonna squat somewhere,
It's better than Portland.
better than Portland. But what a view while you're squatting. I mean, my gosh, what a court. And then it was kind of rediscovered during Napoleon. His troops came in and destroyed part of it, and they were like, hey, this is kind of nice. And so people during the Romantic era then were like, this is a beautiful place to come. And an author actually wrote a book about it, and that is kind of how it came back into culture as a place worth visiting. So what a drastic and vast history, just as complex as the place itself. It's really, really incredible.
Columbus, go find the Americas.
Royal endorsement.
And bring back things like olives.
We just finished walking through the museum. It's pretty small, very manageable, but lots of extra information about some of the items found here, different kinds of columns, different kinds of like water vessels, jugs, bowls, coins, different styles of art that were found here. And so it is really interesting and beautiful. Unfortunately, we couldn't film any of it, but if you're here, definitely come check it out. European way to drink coffee, standing up.
Yeah, when you're at the Alhambra, you gotta stop and take in the moment, you know? Just rush, trying to take it all in.
This is the life at the Alhambra, eating local Andalusian potato chips made with olive oil. Yes, I am here for it.
I've toured a lot of stuff, as you know, if you've watched our channel. Appreciate you watching. Everything's really different for the most part. And there are some things that are the same, but I'd like to say you gotta experience things once, at least. And even if it's the same culture, the same time period, there's gonna be something that's different about it. And so go explore it on your own and then just kind of feel it out. There are some things that inherently you want to know a ton of information about, and if you only take one vacation a year, I get it. Get everything you need to get. But for the most part, because we do so many tours, it's kind of a toss-up on whether or not we want more and more information, like a guide with us. A lot of people that are here today opted for like a guide or an audio tour. And we do so much research, we're really good at it now. And so it does bring a whole nother layer of experience, but ask yourself this. In 3 years from now or 5 years from now, what are you actually gonna remember on your guided tour? Probably like 3 things. And we feel like those 3 things we're gonna remember on our own if we look it up ourselves for the most part. I'm not discounting having a guide or getting the audio tour, because sometimes I opt to do that if I feel like I really wanna immerse myself in something. But it's whatever experience you want to have. It all comes back to that. So if you're looking for a history lesson, get it. Get everything. If you're looking for a really peaceful, wonderful day in a beautiful place that you've never been to before, and you want to learn a few things, but that's not really your main goal, then do that too.
Beautiful.
This right here is one of the main streets. You can walk all the way over here. You've got some really fun views and a couple little tourist restaurants over here looking at the Alhambra. It is really fun to walk up and down this street.
Granada has been a really fun stop. Very different than what I anticipated in terms of the infusion and in some ways strength of Middle Eastern culture here. We've really enjoyed that, and we've really enjoyed the different foods, the different architecture. It's a really fun experience. We've had so many positive experiences, like I would say back when we were in Dubai and seeing some of the same structures, music, incense, markets, in Turkey as well. There was some of that, so it was really fun to get to re-experience that. We are closing out our Spanish leg. Our tour of Spain is coming to an end, which is really shocking, and we've really experienced so many beautiful gems. If you haven't watched all the Spain videos yet, go back and watch them, because there's just so much diversity, so much beauty, so much culture, so much art, so much food. And it's memories we will definitely treasure for the rest of our life, and things we will never ever forget. A couple of tips in terms of getting here. So there are a couple of different entrances, and you want to make sure that you tell your taxi driver, if you're coming by taxi, where exactly you're going, so you don't waste a lot of time walking around. Also, only taxis are allowed to drive up to the very top. I believe there's a bus as well as taxis that are allowed and permitted through, but if you have a personal car or a car rental, we were told that those aren't allowed to go all the way through. So we got up here, we got to the very front of the line at 8:30 to be the first ones in to see some of the palaces, and everyone else was like sweating because you have to climb up this hill, which is huge. So just be aware of that. It's a little bit tricky. There are different tickets as well. Not every ticket includes every location. As we mentioned, this is a citadel, and so there are 6 palaces, and you don't necessarily get to enter all of them. It is a timed entry as well for some of them, so be aware of that. Also, very important logistics note, you need to bring a form of government issued ID. We were waiting to get into the palace, and unfortunately some people were turned away because they had their ticket but they didn't have their passport. So definitely remember that. Remember to bring your ID. And once you're up here, you can spend almost the whole day up here. The gardens are stunning. A lot of the buildings, they don't allow you to enter with food, but there is a cafe, there's a gift shop, and so you can kind of spend as much time as you want up here once you have your ticket for the day. Even if it's a timed entry early in the morning to the palaces, you can spend the whole day here, so I recommend it.
What are you doing?
Hanging out, doing a little yoga in the morning.
In front of Caesar?
So, if you remember our trip to Machu Picchu, we did the same thing. Ride up, walk down. If you know anything about me, you know I love walking, but you don't want to show up like just sweating your brains out. He says it's good to point out that I did actually want to walk up.
And this is a 612 pitch, so it's kind of steep and not advised for people who don't really thoroughly enjoy walking. Yes, if you like to walk for fun, then it's for you. If you don't really like walking, then not for you.
This is...
If you're walking up to the Alhambra, this is a steep street. We'll figure out what street it's on, but you go here and you actually go left. And then you take a left, and then you're gonna go up the steep walkway this way. Okay. Who would have guessed it? So we're kind of in the main area right here, the corner headed to the Alhambra. You can walk up this way. This is the street that I was pointing out before. That's where we saw the baths, and we walked and we saw some of the really fun vistas. But this is the street to head to the Alhambra. And we learned that because we exited that way. We did not know it going in, so that's the steep climb going up.